Hi, I'm Kristin Davis, and I want to know, are you a Charlotte? The first face you see in the pilot of Sex and the City. Sarah Wynter is here, you guys. It's so exciting.
I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled.
I'm so happy you're my first guest.
Well, it's very fitting because I was the first.
I know, and you're so adorable. I watched it last night. Oh my God, you in the back of that cab with your Louis Vuitton.
Oh, I know, and the hat, and the gloves.
In a cab.
In a taxi.
It was a very interesting group of things.
Yes.
But you look incredible.
Oh.
And I really was so pulled into your storyline. And then I'm like, what happened to her? Where did she go and what happened? We should have had you continue on
what happened?
and make sure you were okay.
Yes,
Right?
It's not too late.
There you go.
Let's check
We
in
should
with
run
Elizabeth.
into you.
Yes.
We should run into you on the streets.
But she's doing so well now.
Tell me.
Well, maybe she runs a company. Maybe
Yes.
she's the CEO.
Love it.
But yeah, it ended in such a. It was the best meet cute, I think, of
beyond.
any show I've ever seen.
Beyond.
And I'm not saying that just because I was the cutie.
No, you did great.
And I was pretty darn cute.
You really
30 years ago.
And you still are. Come on, you still are.
But I thank you. I
You're
laugh
welcome.
that she's a journalist and she's got Louis Vuitton luggage.
I know. I was so impressed.
And we shot, I think it was the Brooklyn Bridge. And
Yes.
I remember Susan Seidelman was in the taxi, crouched on the floor while we're actually moving.
I remember that too.
And it was
We
my
did that
first
later.
job. It was
No.
like my first.
Are you kidding
me?
me?
I think it got me into the union. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, no,
Wait,
it was.
how did you get the job?
So I auditioned, and it's so funny. Remember, this was the mid to late 90s,
Yes.
right?
97.
I was very excited to audition for a show, but it was cable. And the dream was to get on a network show,
Right.
Like HBO was not what it became, not by a long shot.
No.
Now, Sarah Jessica Parker had already been cast, so I thought, well, it can't be that bad, right? And maybe I'll get a network show after this. Now I would kill to be on an HBO show.
Wouldn't we all?
But yes. But that, I auditioned, and I was very excited to meet Susan Seidelman because she had directed Desperately Seeking
Sure.
Susan. So she had done a Madonna movie, and it was all
Sure.
very razzle-dazzle. And I remember in the audition, she said, now, how do you feel there might be a nude scene? And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah, whatever.
So brave.
She said there's going to be a bathtub. You'll be covered, but there might be a little
bathtub?
A bathtub. I think we ran out of time. We were going to do a scene in a bathtub. We ended up just having this it was very tasteful. It was in silhouette. It was really just my top half. And again, 30 years ago, I looked pretty good.
You looked incredible.
Before kids.
Incredible.
But I remember. It's so weird. I don't remember a lot in my life. I don't remember what my last job was, but I remember so much about this pilot.
Tell me.
The read-through, the table read.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell me the read-through, because I don't remember the read-through.
Oh, I remember the read-through. I remember seeing you, and I didn't even know really who had been cast. No one's keeping me up to date.
Right.
So I knew Sarah Jessica Parker was going to be in it. I knew Darren Starr.
Right.
Because of
Melrose
Beverly Hills.
and 90210.
And Melrose.
Right,
and when I
right,
saw
right.
you, I was like, oh my God, that's Brooke from Melrose Place. Oh my God, she's so gorgeous. Be cool, be cool, be cool, be cool, be cool, be cool, be cool.
You're sweet. That is definitely how I was
And-
feeling be cool, try to be cool.
Well,
and I was very unsuccessful.
You stood up when he walked in the room, and you and Darren hugged. And I thought, oh yes, of course they know each other because she was Brooke, and Sarah Jessica was there. And I remember we started reading, and Sarah was crossing out anything that said Carrie walks in with a sexy, gorgeous, hot, and it was not a disrespectful to the writer kind of thing that she kept crossing it out, people were laughing, but she was just like, and I remember the person that they had cast to play the boyfriend was not the person that wound up getting the job on set. So I was surprised when I got on set. They had cast Christopher Lawford, who was John Kennedy Jr.'s cousin. Yes, he was at the read-through. And I remember thinking, yes, I remember thinking, that's perfect to have this Kennedy, not Kennedy-esque.
I understand.
Kennedy.
What the heck?
Yes, and he had been an actor.
What happened?
What happened? I want to know.
I don't know.
Did he become unavailable?
Maybe he was what
did
is
something
this
happen?
show?
Maybe, yes, because none of us knew
We didn't know
what
anything.
this show
Totally.
was. I mean, and I remember Kim at the end of the read through went 13 more. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, what is 13? And I didn't realize like that's TV. That's TV.
That was what our contract said. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, 13 more.
That's adorable.
And even though I knew my character ended, and I wasn't going to, like I said, it's not too late,
Yeah.
But and I wound up kind of being the first person to have sex on Sex and the City.
I know, and this is what I remember of that, right? So when we did the show, obviously we were all very excited, and I really, really desperately wanted my part, but we were nervous because do you remember the show Dream On that had been on HBO?
Oh yeah,
and like every week, some girl would just for some reason take her top off, like just randomly, kind of like.
Oops.
We were like, "Is this what we're supposed to do?" Like, please no, like even though we were scared, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't really know. As I was telling everyone before too, we didn't know how people would respond to kind of the very upfront way that we were talking about sexuality, because at that point it hadn't really been done on TV, right?
Yeah.
And cable was a weird thing. Like it was all very unknown. And so I remember being really nervous. And we didn't have clauses in our contract at that point that we had to be nude or that we did whatever. Because we were all panicked, like we're scared, right? And the day that you had to do that nude scene, I was in the hair and makeup trailer getting ready for whatever, like talking on the phone or something boring. And they came in, one of the makeup artists came running in like, we need cups of ice for Sarah Wynter's nipples.
God. Oh my God!
Right?
You
and that was our response.
Yes,
that was our response
for my nipples. Like who knew that was a thing?
I did not know either.
I was trying to be so cool calm and collected.
You did.
But they needed ice.
I know. We were really impressed.
Oh my
we
God.
were panicked, but also
Maybe
impressed.
that's why they look so good, too.
They look fantastic.
Hey, right, bring on the ice.
I know. It worked. It worked.
Cup of ice here.
It worked.
Cup of ice.
But all of us, and then they ran back out. We were like, oh,
what is going
happening?
on?
Oh,
my gosh.
Is this like a
thing?
It's like, God.
No one's ever offered me ice since. And no one offers me ice. I don't do those kinds of scenes anymore. But
Well,
I
you
guess,
did it well.
Well,
and
thank you.
You really seemed like you were fine. Do you know what I mean?
I think Susan, having a female director obviously was really helpful. And I didn't realize at that point, this being my first like TV experience, that's quite rare. Right. That was rare, certainly.
Definitely back then,
in 1997, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was wild. I remember you came into the makeup trailer once, and we had no scenes together.
Right.
And they'd cut your hair, it was like a lob, and you came into the makeup trailer, and you're like, well, it's sporty. I look kind of sporty.
That's me trying to be positive because I really hated
beautiful.
it. Oh,
you look so good. But yeah, I could tell you it was like not your choice.
No, they made me do it.
And it was so like, did she need to have like a bob?
I know, right? No.
It all worked out. I mean, but the pilot was so very different to how it all looked. I mean, it was dark.
So dark.
You all talked to the camera.
All of us.
It was nothing about fashion. In fact, I had all the fashion.
Right. Well, we didn't have Pat yet.
You didn't have Pat.
Right. But you had some outfits.
I had some. Oh, I had Versace.
You look
I remember
great.
they put me in my first pair of Manolo Blahniks.
Right.
And another funny thing I remember is there's a brief scene with a real estate agent.
Yeah, in the house when you're walking through the apartment.
Do you know who she was?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Donna Hanover.
She was Donna Hanover, married to Rudy Giuliani.
I did play with her later
at the time.
I know, it was weird, right?
It was. We had security on set.
I know, it was very
had security.
strange. Donna's so nice.
She's lovely.
We later did a play, and she was like, "Do you remember when I came on the pilot?" I'm like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, that was her.
Bizarre.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Right?
Yeah, it was. And I knew who she was. I lived in New York, and she was actually a co-host of a, like, Good Morning New York, one of those shows.
I remember that.
Yeah. And,
wow.
And, yeah, that was, like,
trippy.
Very
trippy.
Yeah. And
so let me ask you so you have good memories of the pilot. Do you have memories of, because we waited a long time for the show to be picked up. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. I remembered like, maybe it's not going to happen. I had at that point done like a movie. I'd moved to Los Angeles. And then I heard they've made it. It's becoming a series. You haven't been cut.
Always what an actor wants to hear.
Yeah,
you haven't been cut.
Thank God. Yes, thank God. It would have been cutting a lot of scenes. And even though it was short, like we shot for a week. We shot, Chelsea Piers.
Well, there were a lot of little pieces, and that was the thing. We filmed Crazy Hours. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh yeah,
even the pilot, Crazy Hours, and everyone would be like, "Why?" It's because all those little scenes had to be connected by the voiceover later, not so much in the pilot, but to make it, to tell a story. We were trying to tell a story through tiny little scenes. Yeah. That's hard to shoot, right? Because you have to go to the different location and set up. And But that's what's so great about your part of the thing, but also frustrating because we don't continue with you.
Right.
It's so sad.
Right. I know. And I think, when I was reminded, like, hey, you were the first person to have sex on 60C, I'm like, yes, I was. I was also the first person to be ghosted. Before ghosting was a thing.
I know, we didn't have the name.
Right? We didn't have a name, but we've all, we know what it is. And it was so kind of sad. And over the years, the show went for such a long time. It was such an incredible part of, culture, then the movies. And now, what you're doing now, and just like that, I've wondered, like, and there's been such triumph for women, such like, we're not beaten down by these women. That it doesn't end our lives, you move on. I'm like, but I feel like my character had all her, triumphs off camera.
That's a good way to look at it.
She found love. She found a great guy.
Good. Thank God. Hopefully not one of the guys in the pilot because they're all awful.
All horrible people.
Right, I know.
And they're out there with how horrible they are. They're not even pretending.
Totally.
Which I guess is something, like people
something to be said for that.
There's something to be said for just putting out what a rotten human being you are instead of pretending like you're, because that, I come into that.
Well, that's what's annoying about your guy is that he's all like kind of glamorous Prince Charming, and then he's just like gone. So frustrating. And it's funny that we didn't have the term ghosting. And then I mean, in my little notes, they want me to say if I've ever been ghosted or have I ever ghosted anyone, which I think is a hysterical question. And my manager was like, Dave was like, Kristin never been ghosted. No, I did have to think back. A long time ago I was ghosted, though it was, I don't know exactly. I mean, it's hard to define ghosting exactly. I do think it was when there were cell phones, because obviously now ghosting is more a tech thing, right? And back then it was cell phones were new. But I did one time date this out-of-work actor. I think this was before Sex and the City. Maybe between Melrose and Sex and the City, or maybe when I was on Melrose. I don't know. He's now very successful. He was very talented. But at the time, I had money because I'd been working, and I was at his house, and he had all of these, like, your electricity is going to be turned off. Like all those notices that you get when, like, you can't pay your bills. Yeah. They were all just all over his house, right? And I was like, what's happening? And then I think he wrecked his motorcycle, which is like how he got around town to his auditions. And I was like, can I lend you some money? Horrible mistake, okay?
Kiss of death.
Right?
Yes.
Thank you, Sarah. So, and anyone listening, do not lend anyone money that you are dating, okay?
No.
Do not do it.
It doesn't end well.
No, it doesn't end well.
And you never get the money back.
Right. And and it really irked me. Ugh. So then I lent him money. It changed the dynamic in a horrible way.
Yes.
And it was a kind of a casual thing, right? So I probably should have known better. You know what I'm saying? But I just thought, like, I can help. I should help this guy. He's so talented, which he is. Lend him money. I think it was all of $5,000. That's
a lot of money.
Well, thank you. Very nice. Yes. So I lent him this money, and then, he stopped calling, and I'm like, what the heck? So I remember going over to his apartment, like, banging on the door, and his dog was in there, and I loved his dog, and I could hear his dog, but I was like, is he in there and pretending that he is not in there? Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I was like, and then later on, he did call me. He's like, did you come to my house and bang on my door? And I was like, well, yes.
Yeah.
And he was like, I know, right? Yeah. And I felt so embarrassed, like being messy. Like I was like messy, but then I was like, well, you remember how I lent you the money? And no, I haven't.
You had every right to know. I want to see that. That's like a movie. That's like a senior show.
But also, this is a successful actor.
Well, I think, let's add up, like what, with interest.
I know.
The mid-90s.
I just would love some acknowledgement or whatever, which is like kind of a fantasy or whatnot. But, it is funny. But that was the best ghosting story.
I would go knock on his door again.
Would you?
Where does he live? Let's go. Let's knock on his door.
He lives out in the country, and he's married with some children, so I don't think I want to show up there.
All right. He probably doesn't have the dog anymore. So.
No, I think he has numerous animals.
All right. Well, you live and learn. But
you do.
Do not
I can't say that's the last time that I did it, though.
Well,
I think the next time was the last time.
okay, good. No
Wait,
more.
what about you? Ghosting.
Well, let's see. I don't think I could ever ghost someone. You know,
I can't picture you.
I didn't really date as a young person. I was always in relationships. I've been married and I have kids now, and I'm divorced. So I'm dating like now, which is very weird.
Yeah.
But I like to think it's a bit more grown up. If I meet someone or we go on a date or two and I don't feel something, I just say, like, it's lovely to meet you.
Good for you.
You are a great guy.
Yes.
I don't feel a connection, but I wish you all the best.
Amazing.
And that's sort of my thing.
Good. That's good.
I don't think I've been ghosted in the traditional sense.
I would never ghost you. No.
Yeah, thank you. No. And I can take it. You know, I mean, if someone says, you know, I think you're great, but you have young kids, or you have, you know, you live on the other side of the country. I'm like, thank you for telling me. That's great. Good luck. You know,
this is what we want to be as grown-ups, right?
Yes,
you don't need to be
hopefully.
ghosting people.
No,
I agree.
No.
I agree totally. But I think it is such a good and interesting thing to talk about, because I do think that young people are often going through this.
Yeah.
You know, men and women,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's such a hard thing because you're just left there wondering.
Like with the 3 dots.
Right.
Like, are they
It's
going to
awful.
write back?
Awful.
Are they going to?
Awful.
And
awful.
just say it.
Right.
Like, how bad can it be?
Totally. But now we do have social media, so you can go try to, you know, investigate what's happening.
Right.
But
Which is
then it's a waste of your
blessing.
energy.
And I've had to take, I took Instagram off my phone a couple of years ago.
Ooh.
And it was one of the best things I ever did.
Wow.
I still have it on my iPad, but I keep my iPad in my bedroom.
Smart. Limit the...
I realized how much time I was spending looking at things that made me feel like shit. Like,
That's
why
bad.
am I doing this?
My Instagram feed is all dogs and
Well,
elephants.
that's the way to go.
Yes.
Yeah, I know you.
Yes,
you love
yes,
elephants.
yes.
Yeah.
And the puppies. I want to see the
Right.
puppies get adopted.
Right.
It's really nice. You know what I mean?
Aw.
And also, I
It's
do
using it for good.
Right,
It's-
right. Because
yeah.
there are such positive things, you know, on there, but there's also such toxic things, and you know,
Yeah.
you got to protect the kids from that too.
And the grown ass women who are, you know, going
Good
to
point.
protect me.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Good point.
from,
Good point.
From feeling, like crap. But
No, that's not worth it.
yeah,
That's not worth it.
nothing's worth
And
that.
you're writing now.
I'm writing.
Yay.
Yes. I'm developing a limited series with my writing partner,
Wow.
and who knows where it will land. You know, I would like, if anyone's out there listening and they want to read an incredible show for women that's basically a delicious revenge tale of beautiful people doing bad things.
Wow.
Hit me up. So I'm excited about that. And I wrote an article that got published in Vanity Fair, which I was
Oh my
really
God.
proud of. Yeah, because I'd never written anything before. And
Amazing.
that was, I was really proud of that. So
That's amazing.
I produced a movie sort of based on that topic with Amanda
Wow.
Seyfried. And
Wow.
but I miss acting. I do miss acting. Yeah. I want to, I miss telling stories from that perspective. You know, writing my own stories is fun, but, and I'd like to continue to do that, but I do want to get back in front of the camera and you know, not in a leading role, not in a, you know, I'm not in that part of my career anymore, but just you know, pop in here and there, you know.
Yeah.
I'd love to do more of that.
It's so interesting because, like, for the longest time, I didn't really miss acting. I didn't go that long without acting, but like sometimes I was like, you know, when I was young, I needed to be acting in some form, right? Like on camera, in theater, whatever it was. And I don't know if it was having kids, and that kind of takes on a whole creative side of you in a different way.
Yes.
Like an emotional side. But like I didn't need it as much. But then the funny thing is when we did go back to do And Just Like That, because we're with Michael Patrick and, you know, everybody, you know, we've been together so long, I had all this pent up emotion, which I didn't really realize.
Wow.
It was interesting.
Wow.
It was interesting.
And then you had an outlet.
I did. And I was like, well, this is why we love it.
Right. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Because you know, when you step away, you know, as you become a parent, you are fulfilled in other ways.
Right.
And you don't crave that creative, like, also it's like a family being on set.
Right.
And if you have a family at home, you're not,
it's different.
it's a different, you know, things shift. But yeah, stepping back into it, having stepped away is so sweet.
It is. It is. It's fun.
Yeah. And also, you've had Charlotte in your life for so long.
know.
And to be able to watch you, I can't even imagine like playing the role. And you play her so beautifully with such heart.
Thank you.
You've given us hope. Like Charlotte has always had hope, the eternal optimist.
So true.
And I feel like she got knocked down, she got back up, and she believed she would meet her husband, and she believed she would have her children.
True.
And it didn't look the way she thought, you know.
Right,
and I think, you know, for people, for myself that watch it, it's really that sense of hope that was so beautiful and poignant to watch.
Thank you.
And to see you have loss and pain, and but get back up and
Thank you.
was really, yeah, I think.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Are you a Charlotte?
Am I a Charlotte? I'm going to say yes, but it has changed for me. I think back in the day, you know, when we first met Charlotte, I felt like I was a Charlotte because I kind of modeled myself along being a bit of a rule follower, having a protocol with dating and men and being a lady. And that was always very important to me, and being buttoned up and having boundaries. And I think now I'm a Charlotte in the way that, you know, we've got to know Charlotte in what I just sort of referenced, her eternal optimism and not losing hope. And also something really important that you portrayed in your storyline, at least for me, was that happiness doesn't have to be what you think it's going to look like. You know, we imagine it's going to be a certain guy, you know, or you're going to have kids a certain way in that, and you check off all those things. And what was amazing, and I've had this in my own life, is sometimes the guy is right in front of you. You know, you don't realize it's going, you know, someone you look, this abstract idea of like a Wall Street guy or a, you know, a Trey, you know, having biological, you know, you got your Harry, you got your babies, not, doesn't look the way you know,
For
Charlotte
sure.
thought.
Yes.
And I think that is a really nice thing to remember, that sometimes they'll happen in a way that's unexpected, and to stay open-hearted, you know, and I think that's what I want to maintain as the Charlotte in me now,
That's
like
so
not
nice.
losing hope. I'm going to get that role. I'm going to meet that guy. It's all going to work out. And it does, you know, it all, you know, in life, you know, it's
Of course.
ups and downs, and, you know, you can have many happy endings and happy, you know, episodes, you know, chapters in your life.
Of
So
course.
it was a very long-winded way of saying I'm a Charlotte.
I love it.
I'm all the Charlottes.
That was a good deep way, because you're right. We have known her a long time, and it means different things at different times, right? And that's what's great about playing a character for so long, obviously, but also like in something where people can relate. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this podcast, was to be able to, like, I love to hear the fan stories, you know, when I'm out in the world, and they always have something really interesting that they can pull from it. And, you know, maybe you know, obviously every character has something super important to pull from.
Of
It's
course.
not like Charlotte is different or special or whatever.
Right.
I just happen to play her. You know what I mean? So, but like for me, I'm part Charlotte, part Carrie, you know, because I feel like Carrie's always kind of searching and digging and, you know, who am I? How do I fit into this scenario, or who do I want to be in this scenario? And I'm more of that in certain ways in my real life than I am of a Charlotte, where she had so many goals. You know, she really did have these goals. And I think that also is why she fell down a lot, because the goals were so specific, right? But then she was able to learn from them, you know, to learn from the things that didn't go how she expected, to be more open to the other things that might have been there all along, which I think is so important. I mean, I have to tell myself this too, you know, ongoingly. You know what I'm saying? It never ends, really. It never ends. But it's so interesting to think about.
The purity, though, of you and that character was like, we root for all of you, you know, to get what you want. But you had such a pure heart, you know. And when you got hurt, we all felt hurt for you.
Thank you.
And it made the triumphs so much more sweeter.
Good. Yeah, when I watched that pilot last night, oh my God, I was like,
how crazy.
I'm like a little child.
We're baby faces. That's what I'm like. We've
really
got
babies.
Little.
And as I said earlier, I'm like a puppy. I'm like a baby puppy.
Love me.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
This is what I was thinking. I was like, my God, I'm glad it worked out.
Like, yeah.
For me and for her.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because I was like, wow.
The 90s New York, it was a different time.
Didn't it look so different in the pilot?
So
Didn't
different.
It look like the 70s?
Yeah, yes.
I was I was there. I would go to visit. Yeah. My parents would take me to like, I saw Sarah and Annie when we were all 12 or whatever we were.
What a full circle.
I didn't know her.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But I saw her. And I mean, I remember Times Square in the 70s was like,
no, you would never go there.
Earth?
Yeah,
right.
No. And in the 90s, you wouldn't have gone there. Now it's like Disneyland.
Right?
Yeah.
And also like the village, like at the end, I mean, I don't know where we actually shot that final scene with she and Big.
Yeah.
So great, obviously. But like when she gets out of the car, I'm like, where is she? Because that doesn't look anything like the village right now.
It's unrecognizable.
Like literally, you would have to go, I don't know, 30 miles outside of New York to find that.
Yeah.
Warehousey looking thing going on in the dark. I don't know what's happening. There's no light. There's no dark. There's no street
that doesn't exist anymore.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Outdoor dining.
Yes.
Like it's just night and day. But that is kind of what you love about the cities, that it's always evolving.
It's evolving. But I think
always.
It was like a time capsule, the pilot.
Oh, big time.
Of
big
what
time.
New York was like and how it looked and what it was like to be young, and
I know, we weren't even that young.
And we
you know what I mean? That's what's
we were
funny.
very young. What do you say?
No, we weren't.
No,
I wasn't. I seem like I am. I was like 30-something.
I think
35?
I was in my 20s.
Were you?
Late 20s.
Oh, how adorable.
I don't even know how old you are.
We were older because I remember the
you were
thing I
supposed
remember
to be in your
about,
early 30s,
exactly,
right?
and we all were,
Yeah.
and that was a big thing because remember, I don't know if you went through this, but when I was first auditioning, whatever the part said, you said you were that age.
Oh, yeah.
You did not say you were your real age.
No,
if it was older, you said you were older. If it was younger, you were 22. Whatever it was, you were like, yes, I'm 22.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the freedom of playing a woman in her 30s. We were like, what? Unheard of.
Yeah.
But this is also when you thought your career was over at 40.
Yes.
Like we really did not ever perceive that we would have bigger success.
Right. Yes.
It was crazy.
The longevity. Imagine.
Thank God.
Yes.
Right?
And it's so nice for actors to see that, for
and the
actresses.
world is different now.
And the world is, and our stories are interesting,
Well, that's why we wanted to do it just like that. We were like, why would our stories be over?
Right.
They're not over.
They're richer.
Right?
Yeah. And just as interesting. And I can't wait for the next season.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a big one.
Look at the eyebrows.
I know. It's a lot. We just finished. I'm still recovering.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I bet.
It was a lot.
It's
it was
intense.
A lot.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It is intense, but we're just so lucky to still be doing it.
You are. And and you can tell that it's genuine. You feel
Thank
lucky.
You. Oh, we're
because this
invested.
Is unheard of.
I know.
It's really to have, to be able to,
we're so lucky.
Stay with these characters and evolve with them and keep telling the stories. And it's so generous to the audience and to the
it's generous
lovers.
To us, like the support. For not the audience, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Right. That's
you know what I mean?
That's so true.
It's a cycle. It's a circuit.
Yeah.
It's important, but it's also funny because when I watched yours, I was like, we don't even know what happened to her.
Right.
I need to know what happened to her.
We
Is
do.
she okay?
We do.
Okay.
I think there's
She's
whole
running a company.
episode that we could go back. Stick with me here.
Okay.
And just see the trajectory that was Elizabeth. Maybe she won a Pulitzer or something. I don't know. She was a journalist.
I love it.
Maybe she does a cover story on
Carrie.
Charlotte, Carrie, the whole bit.
Yeah.
Like whatever happened to her? Well,
I like this.
This is
I like this.
She's on the cover of Forbes, something,
Yes.
But it was just such a, and it's interesting. I had friends that didn't even know I had done Sex in the City. And then I think the pandemic, when the series came back, people wanted to go back to the beginning.
Right.
So I had so many people at one point saying, "You're on Sex in the City. You're on Sex in the City."
As a little baby.
I'm watching. A friend of mine just texted me from an airplane. I'm like, "Look, the lady in front of me is watching you on Sex in the City."
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
So it kind of is. It's given me a boost. I'm
glad. I'm glad.
And I was only in a little bit of the
you're
pilot.
So good. You're so good.
Oh well,
and
who
it's
knows?
a
Who
nice.
knew?
It's like not complete, but it's like a really. Like you get the story, like, you know what I'm saying? Like we don't even really follow the rest of us that much.
Right. It's the premise of the show, though. It's really set up.
Very much,
like what can happen when this wide-eyed, person comes to New York. I was that wide-eyed person coming from Australia.
Aww.
Oh, that's another thing. The accent was dodgy as hell because no one asked me. if I was really British, like you said, with the auditions, if you're 33, you're 33. If you're 24, you're 24.
God.
Are you British? Yeah. Hell yeah. And no one at that point, like, said anything about my, you know.
Wow.
So,
it's okay. We were paying attention to so many other things.
Right.
But I did go, like, there's one word where I'm like,
wait, what?
But that's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, you know, British,
You were
Australian. I was foreign.
Yeah,
I was
you were foreign.
And this is before a whole lot of Australians
came.
came.
Gorgeous and glamorous with your Louis Vuitton
oh my
cases.
God, and my hat.
And your yellow cap and your hat on your head.
And my checkered
it's
cap.
Just amazing.
I know.
It's so amazing.
What a beginning.
What a beginning.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I think is interesting is like there's two main points, right?
Yeah.
So one is the ghosting, which we don't call it, obviously, the ghosting, because we don't have that word yet. But the other, which I remember more so personally as being the super fascinating part, is can women go around and casually have sex like a man and not have emotions?
Right.
And that's what we debate at the one scene we all have together at Miranda's birthday.
Yeah.
And Charlotte's like, what about romance?
Right.
You know, and they're all like, you know.
Right.
And, you know, Samantha's very powerful about it all. And then Carrie goes and tries to do research with the Bill Sage character, who's so beautiful. Oh, my Jesus, God. I know. And I remember having a little, like, Bill Sage crush. We would run into him, and I'd be like, oh, that Bill Sage is here. But I don't know, not my type. I don't know. He didn't seem to, you know what I'm saying? He was, like, quite fabulous.
Stunning. Yeah.
Stunning. And Sarah goes up, you know, she's got her eyes because she's got her brown hair. And she's like, you know, how about, you know, your place? And he's like, 3:00. And she's like, mm-hmm. I'm just like, whoa, she's like incredible.
Yeah.
And then she goes and they're in bed and it shows her enjoying it.
Yep.
And then he comes up from the covers and there's some stain on the sheet, which I'm just like, what on earth? Okay. It's probably makeup. I don't know what's going on.
What?
Everything's like kind of messy in the pilot, as you know. And then he's like, what about my turn? And she's like, nope, sorry, gotta go. And I'm like, oh my God, it's incredible. But you don't see this on television now.
No.
30 years
you
later.
Don't. No, that was bold.
Right?
It was really bold.
And then she goes out on the sidewalk and runs into Big and drops the condoms. It's incredible.
Right. No, it's incredible.
It's incredible.
It was, and it needed to be seen, and it needed to happen. And the fact that that was the show that did it is remarkable.
I know, but also, like, think about it now. I was saying earlier, I do feel like in terms of women, like we do have this ability to be casual and have hookups and, you know, the whatever in more of an equal manner to men than back then.
Right.
But I still don't know, you know, can women have sex without feeling? I don't know.
I can't.
Me
I mean,
neither.
I'm not, my feelings are in everything.
Me
you know?
too.
So I don't even know that I want to have sex like a man. Like I'm quite happy having sex like a woman.
That's a good point, but sometimes I would like
because
to.
But if you're not feeling it, then you still want to feel it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And if you're going to feel
but
it,
you want to feel it in a way where when they're gone, you're upset.
I don't want to cry when it's over.
Right.
And I think and also being open, I think just being a creative person, you have to be open-hearted all the time. So it's
valid point.
Feelings, you know, it's hard to sort of leave feelings behind. But it's interesting, you know, to have sex like a man. And I love that she did that. I thought it was so empowering and so awesome.
I agree.
It was great. But it's interesting. It's so interesting that, like you said, not even now are people really doing that or feeling bold enough to behave so cavalierly with men and sex. And
I mean, I feel like there might, because of the apps and everything, like the dating apps, like Hinge or whatever.
You can be more anonymous.
Isn't that the one?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Never been on them.
I have been on and off them.
Oh, really?
I kind of go on them, and then it's like, oh my God, I can't deal. And I
you swipe and all this stuff.
I'm waiting for someone to like meet me on my sofa at home, like just walk in the door, and which is just not going to happen.
I was going to say that's bold, Sarah.
I don't think he's going to
happen.
But I'm not good at dating. I'm just not.
Me neither. I'm really bad at dating.
But I don't go to bars. I don't go out. I mean,
I don't think that's where people meet people. No. Is it? Anyone?
I mean, I guess I'm on the train sometimes, but like I don't look up. I'm just hoping like one of my friends will just introduce me to a great guy. And,
That's a
but
nice
also,
way to
like,
go.
I live with 3 great men as it is, you know, and that, you know, I feel like they're my loves.
a lot. That's a lot.
Not that I'm not still looking for someone.
Oh my gosh! Wow! Wow!
But it's just like I feel very fulfilled, you know,
Which is great.
Yeah,
Right.
Like,
I think we should do some kind of a poll with everyone we have on of all ages to find out, and maybe in our socials, someone can tell us. Like, are these younger women who've come up with the age of like apps and social media and whatnot, are they able to go have casual sex if they want to?
What's it like?
If they want to, and what's it like?
Yes.
We need to know.
I would love that
right?
because that's just not how I grew. You just would not.
I know.
It wasn't
It's kind of
ladylike.
hard for us to change,
it wasn't,
right?
You know, it
Right.
wasn't feminine. You know, but why do we? But
That's
why?
not fair.
Yeah, no,
you know?
it's so misogynistic to even think that.
Right.
And
but
I am
this
a woman.
Is what we were
but,
ingrained with.
Yeah. And to be, you didn't want to be aggressive. You know,
I know,
it's
but
like you
that's
just
so
you want to be
nonsense.
asked out. You
I
want
know,
to. You don't
but
want to be the one.
boo,
Yeah,
boo,
boo.
boo.
Like like it's okay to ask someone out or say,
Definitely.
"Hey, I like you."
Definitely.
I remember the first time I told a man I liked him before he said he liked me.
Was he shocked?
No, he's like, "I like you too."
Aww.
You know, and then we kissed. That was nice. But I felt like this was just like the old Sarah would never have done that. I would have like waited for him to call and say,
I know the things we go through. My gosh.
Like, you should be demure and. You know, you can still
You really
maintain
are, Charlotte.
a femininity.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
in all the good ways.
Wow. I'm impressed. I'm way impressed. You're the perfect first
thank
guest.
you. Thank
Oh my
you.
gosh.
Yeah.
You're more Charlotte than me, I think. Okay, let's talk about the men. Because, you know, the men in the pilot, like, she does say that great line where they show all the people walking down the street and she says, like, you know, these women pay taxes and they wear strappy Manolos and yet they are alone. There's like a little beat before she goes, alone. And I'm like, ooh, ooh. And then, you know, every man who talks to the camera, first of all, they're horrific. Second of all, they say toxic bachelor, toxic
literally
bachelor.
in print.
Yes, and it's true.
And they managed
for
to
sure.
fail up.
Yes.
Like, why are we struggling? And there's a lot of, you know, chat about how, you know, things have become more equal and you know, a lot of, have they?
I
Like,
don't know.
I really feel like, you know, the cream of the crop of women are out there and are single. And these men, I dated a man, well, we went out twice, who ate baby food. Like, what? And I went out on a second and third date with him. He ate baby food.
Why?
I don't know.
Was he trying to diet?
I don't think so. But he took me to really good restaurants and would order boiled rice. And he had like a container of applesauce in, yeah. Like,
I went
what
out
is
with a
that?
man once.
And rice, like boiled rice.
Can I tell you what? This guy, also an actor, I would order regular food and he would order like vegetables or whatever with like steamed vegetables, like kind of like you would think an actress, I know. And then I would order regular food and he'd be like, let me smell it. So he would like,
Oh, God.
and I'd be like,
Oh, that's so weird.
I know. And he'd be like, oh, I feel better now. I smelled it. And I'd be like, oh, all right.
What? You got to stop dating actors.
I know,
think.
100%.
I mean, you know,
I know.
Stop
I'm
giving
sorry.
them money.
I love us.
But that is so bizarre.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get me started on my taste. But
I'm
I want to
meeting-
hear.
I'm
So
meeting
wait,
these-
what happened? Did you ask the man why he was eating baby food?
He said he's not. He said he had simple tastes. He said he has a simple, like, you know, he's not into like really complicated food. I'm like, that is not someone that eats like. You could eat uncomplicated, but still order off the menu. It
That
was
is
so
really, really fascinating.
weird. Yeah,
I hope
boiled
he puts
rice,
that if
mashed
he's on
potatoes, and the little thing of applesauce. Like, and I thought, God, does he have like a mummy fantasy? Does he want me to like give him a bottle later, like before bed? It didn't get that far.
I'm glad.
But what? These are the guy. I had another blind date. We were set up by a mutual friend too. We had a really nice dinner in New York City. But I sat down with tall, handsome, gorgeous, good family I'd heard from. I Googled him. And we sat down, hadn't even ordered cocktails. And he was like, wait there. Like I was going to go anywhere. He goes back to the kitchen, basically.
Okay.
Past the bar area, all the
yeah.
diners, into the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
Comes back a few minutes later with a guitar. Sits down and starts singing. The whole restaurant stops and looks, and people have their phones and their film because I guess they figure he's about to propose or something. He started singing "Kiss the Girl" from A Little Mermaid in the Jamaican accent, and I remember, my face was so frozen in a smile that it started to hurt. And I remember thinking, he kept singing and he kept singing, and I wanted to die.
I wanted
someone.
You?
Yeah, I think he was trying to impress me.
My God.
I wanted someone to have a heart attack so we could like talk about that instead. I wanted like there to be a crash on Madison Avenue, like a car crash, so we could go, oh my God, there's a car crash, and he would put his guitar down.
That is really embarrassing.
And you know what else is embarrassing? I went out on a second date with him.
You did?
Because I thought,
did you want to see
know
if
what?
he was going to
Is there something wrong with me? I polled my friends. I was like, is there something wrong with me that doesn't every woman want to be serenaded? Right?
I'm sure that's what
and they
he
were like,
thought.
No, because you didn't put that out there. Did you
Right.
tell him your dream is to be serenaded?
But also,
I'm
you
like,
didn't
no.
even know him.
I didn't know him.
That's strange.
I wanted to die.
I'm sorry if you're
Yeah,
listening.
and it takes a lot to embarrass me. Like,
No,
just
I'd
as an
be
actor, right?
mortified.
I was dying in all not the good ways. And he was so pleased with this. He said,
Also-
can you believe I did that? And I was like, no, I really can't.
This is my theory, Sarah, on this, okay? Because this is a very unusual story. I think he had seen you on 24 and or Sex and the City, and he was like, I'm going out with this glamorous, beautiful actress.
Who wants to be in a musical.
Exactly. I'm going to knock her socks off. I'm going to surprise her.
Right.
I'm going to go big, like a big gesture. You know what I mean? Which you should wait maybe later in the relationship for.
right.
But
Figure out what
I
I'm
feel
into.
like it came from a
Oh,
good place.
it so did.
But it's so strange
Yes.
that he would pick like a kid's song.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, and
in
sing
a
the entire-
Jamaican
the entire
accent. Like
song.
it's a broad swing. Okay.
Oh, it sure
a
was.
really big
Yeah.
swing. Wow.
But I think I
feel
agree with
bad
you.
for
I think
him, though.
like he came from all
Yeah.
the right places. It just it was a lot, and
Gosh, I hope
and
he
that's why I
found
went
someone.
out. That's when I went out
Yeah,
with him
of
again.
course.
And he ultimately,
Did he find someone?
We went for
Do
each
we
other.
know?
I think he might have found someone.
I hope so.
Yes.
There's someone out there
and
who
she
would
loves
like
being
that.
sang to.
Right?
Yes,
They can go to Disneyland.
Yes,
They can
yes,
go on the ride.
Yes, yes.
You know what I mean?
the
Little Mermaid ride. My kids love it.
Yes, Frozen, all of them.
Totally.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a good one.
I know.
Wow. So in general, this is my question when I was watching the pilot. Do we feel like it's different than it was in the pilot? Because here she is saying there are all these incredible, successful women
Yeah.
in Manhattan, but also
Yeah.
in the world. And where are all the great guys?
Yeah.
Like, do we feel like that's different?
God, I'd love to say it's different.
I know.
I think there are so many. I mean, I'm a woman, so obviously I can only speak to the female perspective on things, and I'm middle aged. Like, I'm not a young person dating in the city,
I
so
am
I have
too,
no
Sarah.
idea what that is like.
Totally.
But I think the playing field has evened out.
You do?
A little.
Okay, this is good
in that
news.
we don't put up with that kind of
Good call.
bullshit
Yes,
anymore,
that's right.
you
That's
know?
right. That's
and
right.
we're smarter, we can pick toxicity, we know what ghosting is. We know what being rear windowed. What is it?
I don't know.
No, white light, black light.
What?
Gaslight!
Gaslight.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm like,
gaslight.
wait, things
Rear
I don't know
windowed.
about.
Yeah,
Gaslight,
I know.
right? No, there's
You don't
more.
want to be rear
We have
windowed.
lingo. No, I don't. No, I don't think I do. I don't think I do.
It was a Hitchcock
No, I don't.
movie.
Yeah, totally. No, I know what you're saying. There's more.
There's more.
We can
like, I see
exchange
you,
information.
Yes.
Yes.
And look out for each other. And social media, you can bring things back to the girlfriend. Like, oh, I saw him out at that other place. With,
Right.
On Snap. And there's the Snap map. And I'm learning this from my kids.
What?
You can see someone's location on the Snap. Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah.
In real time?
Yeah, in real time. So it's like, oh, she's not at the movies with her friends. She's at the mall with someone else. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know this.
Yeah,
This
but I
is
do
super
think so. I
fascinating.
think we're
So there's
smarter,
tools.
but I do think with that comes like a sense of like we're harder. Like
You mean
it's,
like harder
just like
exterior?
I think when you're expecting someone to mess up or not be truthful or to gaslight you or to not be honest,
Right.
you're kind of guarded, and you should be guarded. But I think it's also important to keep that part that's soft, that will find love, that will
Definitely.
be open. And
Definitely.
not everyone's perfect, and everyone's going to
right.
fuck up, and everyone's
Right.
going to like maybe tell a white lie, maybe or try and protect themselves in the beginning. And we all want to put our best face forward. I think that's what I used to do. I used to sort of want people to think I was perfect and this is me. Now I just put it out there right away. So does Charlotte. Now I'm just like, look, I have 3 kids. My life is messy,
That's great. Yes. Just be who you are.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, I don't even know if I want to live with someone anymore. But if you want to, like, you know, have two different places, that would be good. Like, let's not just have two different sinks.
Wait, do you remember the part of the pilot where someone, I think it must be Carrie, says, wait, I don't know who it is, but someone says that we're self-selecting down to a smaller and smaller group.
Yes.
I was like,
that's clever.
Oh
yep.
my God.
Yeah, we are.
Me? No. Well, cool. It's something like that.
That's a great
and
line.
I was like, that is so true.
Yeah.
There's just so many things that are still so true.
Yeah. And
I can't believe it.
You know, it's okay to have, like, you know, your people.
Well, I
your
think
circle.
it's okay, but it's also like you're saying, if you're not open to being surprised, then you're probably not going to be surprised because you're not open to it.
Right.
So there's that.
Yes.
Right.
So you have to find a balance, I guess.
Right.
You know?
But I think the question, and I don't know the answer, definitely. The question is, are there great guys out there? And I mean, there must be. But like my feeling is they're all in relationships.
They're all in relationships. There are plenty of great guys out there. They're just not single.
Right.
And, you know, timing is everything. And, you know, oftentimes I'll meet someone and then I like, do I really want to be in a relationship? It's very time consuming, you know,
my God.
sharing a life with
I am
somebody.
with you.
And I kind of want like a sometime roommate sometimes. But then I guess that makes me sound casual and I'm not.
Right.
You know?
This is the
or that like,
conundrum.
can you have sex like a man? Like
Right.
I guess I just want the cuddle. I kind of like, you know, the cuddle, you know, someone to put their. I was flew out here from New York, and I was, you know, waiting to get on my plane, and I saw this couple, and he was taller than her, and she literally just kind of rested her head on his shoulder and like held onto his arm, and it kind of took my breath away because it was like, that's what I miss. You know, that's what I like.
Yeah.
You know, not the fireworks, you know, fancy, you know, stuff.
Yes.
The movie stuff. It's that like being able to lean on someone while you're in line to do something really, you know, basic and you know, boring.
Yeah. Don't make me cry. Yeah, no, that's very profound. Really, it's very profound.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's intimacy that at a really beautiful level.
Yes,
you know?
I agree. Yes. I mean, so let's just end that. There's hope.
There is hope.
Yeah.
There is hope.
Think?
Yes, there absolutely. I just got goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlotte, and your portrayal of her, so pure and so.
Thank you. I'm lucky to play her.
So wonderful for us all to watch.
Thank you. I'm just lucky I still get to do it.
Yeah. And we get to watch it, you know?
I know it's super, super mind-blowing to think of the pilot being all that time ago.
Oh.
I can't even really say the number out loud because I don't really know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more than 25 years. That's what I know. Because we had like a celebration that it was 25 years, and that was like 2 years ago. So I guess it's like 27 years ago.
That's
but
a quarter of a century.
Like what?
Yeah.
How could that be true?
And like so much has happened to the character. And also, you know.
In the world.
In the world.
Right?
And the cast, like marriages
and
children.
We've lived life.
And loss
we have
and,
lived
you know,
life.
death.
I don't. We've already cried.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, life is intense.
It's intense.
I know, but we've been on the wildest ride. You know,
still on it.
We've been all over the world. Oh, I don't think we want to get off if they'll let us continue.
Stay.
Which I don't know, but you know, I mean, we love what we do so much, and we're so lucky, and I'm so grateful. You know, for all of it, for every phase and everyone who has allowed us to find ourselves, you know, because if you think about how the show has changed and then beginning to do the movies and then getting to do the new show, like we have had this every single time we have to prove ourselves again. Like it seems from the outside like it must be easy.
No.
We had to go pitch and just like
it
that.
It gets harder, I'm sure, every time with
because
every
also
movie.
There's the previous thing that they want to live up to, right?
Yeah.
But then you also have to let go of that in a certain way because life changes and people change and the stories evolve and you know it's all very fascinating. But I'm just very, very grateful for all of it.
It's incredible. It's magic. You guys have captured magic.
Well, thank you for your part in it.
Oh, well,
you started
thank
this
you for
off with a
remembering
bang.
me.
Of course. How could I forget? Like I said, I want to know what happens to her, Elizabeth.
Well, Maybe in the next.
I know. Does she still
Who
have
knows?
the luggage?
Does she still
I
have
really
the
wanna know.
luggage?
The
You know what?
mountain
She could have
luggage.
of the vintage. She
You
could have
could have
sold
started
that
your
luggage.
company with
yes,
that money.
Yes,
That
yes.
was some
Maybe that's
money
what
in that
happened.
cab.
That's a
Totally.
good. That's full circle.
I was like,
there you go. And the hat box.
all of it. I know. And is that Sarah Jessica's? Because like, how could we have afforded that?
Yeah.
Do
You know
what I mean?
what? That's a good trivia
I mean,
question. Yeah.
She has it.
She has it. Of course she does. And she'd have the hat box.
Oh, she loves a hat box. She loves a hat box. Pat made me carry a hat box all over Morocco.
Isn't that funny?
Yes, it was awkward.
It was
I was
awkward.
like, these things are not
But
easy
Charlotte
to carry,
wears
Pat.
hats.
And I had a massive hat. Michael Patrick hates
That's why your
hats.
skin is so beautiful.
You're so
you know,
kind. Sorry, that
no
was very
sun.
loud. Oh, we put a lot of sunscreen on too. But yes, yes, I guess the hats help. The hats help. But hat boxes are kind of a special
Thing at the
Sex and the City
past,
thing,
unless you're on
and a
Sex and the
very,
City.
I know,
Yeah.
a very
It's a
vintage
throwback.
callback,
Yeah.
throwback, old
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
I do love them too, but I mean, who can
I
carry
remember
a hat
wanting to
box?
have one in high school, and I think I ended up getting like a cardboard one to think
How adorable.
that was how I was going to travel.
Totally.
Like, I didn't have any hats.
Listen, I've got the
but-
Louis Vuitton makeup case, and I did one time. But when it's sitting on the top of your pile in the back of the cab, I was like, oh my God. One time I was working in South Africa, and I wanted my character to have it, but I had to bring it because they definitely couldn't afford it.
yeah.
And I had adopted my son, who's my youngest child, and he was 6 months old, and I was taking him to South Africa with me to do this movie with a baby nurse. And in the Louis Vuitton, I packed his formula bottles.
Oh, I
'Cause it
hope you
had
got
the
a picture of that.
I did not, because you don't think you're just so
Yeah,
stressed. You're
yeah.
like, oh my God, what do I have to take for this really,
traveling
really
with
long
a
travel?
6-month-old.
Exactly. He did
Oh my
so
God.
great. I had bought we're so off topic, but I had bought Starbucks card for everybody because we were in the first class lounge, the first class cabin of Emirates.
Yep.
I was like, these people
Yep.
are going to be so
Yep.
upset with
Yep.
me
Oh.
because I have this tiny
Yep.
baby.
You thought
and they're
ahead.
going to be mad. Well, my baby nurse did.
Yeah.
So we bought Starbucks card for everyone. He did not make a peep, but I handed them out anyway.
Yeah.
But
Aw.
I mean, he was like a little angel, a little angel.
Well, the planes actually, I took my son, to go further off topic, when he was 3 months old to Australia. And that is a
Wow.
long
Long
flight.
way. Yeah.
And I remember everyone looked at me I was in business class and he had a little crib. And
Right.
the woman sitting next to me, I just sat down. I'm like, sorry. She's like, I'm a NICU nurse.
Oh my
and
God.
I was like, oh my God.
Well,
and I was
thank
like
God.
nursing and stuff because I was thinking, what if I sit next to a guy? And that's a long time to,
Yeah.
he slept the entire
It's
flight.
amazing,
She was
right?
like, I'll hold him, whatever you need.
That's so
she didn't even
nice.
need to
this
hold
is
him.
when
So that's when you need to
if
fly.
anyone's watching this or listening or whatever who has a baby, fly with them when they're tiny.
3 to 6 months.
You think you shouldn't,
Yep.
but
Not when they're 2.
It's not so bad.
Yeah, then it's done.
No.
Then you need more than a start. You need a gift card
You
to
need a
Tiffany's
tranquilizer or some
Tranquilizer.
such,
You need to
for
hand out
everybody. Yeah,
Xanax.
totally. Anyway, we have definitely gone off.
Yeah.
But it was really fun. You're so fun to talk to.
Oh, I love you. You're
Thank you for
amazing.
coming
It's just
on.
like I love this. It's just
Thank you.
Are you watching going episode
I'm
by
going
episode?
to. I
Is that how you're
am.
gonna you'll cover the
Well, that's how we're going to cover the
recaps?
themes, right?
Okay.
And I mean, we're recapping, but not in the way like some people recap and talk about like lines and
Right,
scenes
right,
and whatever. And I'm
right.
like, oh my God, I don't even know if I can do
Right.
that. But like just to watch the pilot, because I haven't watched it in at least 20 years. I mean, a very long time, right? You're reminded of so much. So it's like, I want to tell people about what it was like to be there,
Yeah.
what I remember, different things stick out, obviously. And then some things you're like, I don't even remember that. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
It's just behind the scenes, but also the thing that I love the most about it is that the themes that we talked about then are still so relevant.
They're relevant.
It's still so interesting.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to hold them up now and say, like, is this still true? Is
Yep.
this not still
Yeah.
true? It's super interesting.
Yeah.
And,
And
I'm
it's-
sure each guest will have their own.
It's
point of
fascinating,
view.
and we still don't know. We're
No,
still
we
asking
don't.
the questions,
No,
which
we
keeps
are.
us curious,
Yeah.
which keeps things interesting.
Which is that's a great, and that's what I think Carrie embodies, right? She's always like, what if, or what's her thing? I wonder if, or,
Yeah.
like that. These
Yep.
are good questions to be asking.
Curiosity is something so lacking. People are really good at talking and they're not good at listening. And I think when you're curious, you inherently want to listen. And not everyone can host a podcast. So you're a really good listener.
Well, you're my first guest. We'll find out.
That's my of all the podcasts I've been on.
Thank you.
No, you're great. You're going to do great,
Thanks,
kid.
darling.
You're gonna
Thank
do
you for
great.
being here.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you for being my
Yeah.
first guest.
Your first Charlotte.
My first Charlotte. And she was, in fact, a Charlotte.
I'm in fact a Charlotte. All the
Possibly
Charlottes.
more
Yeah.
than me,
Well,
which is quite amazing.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
I was inspired.
So we hope you guys will be back next week.